All right, we are kicking off Frankenstein week in my month-long of comparing movie monsters. We are looking at 7 different film versions of Frankenstein throughout this week. I also read the book so that I had something else to compare it to other than just each other. So, I've got notes for each one. We're going to run through first differences between the movies and the book. And then I'm going to talk about each movie's iconography. So what that means is when I think of like a pop culture Frankenstein, how many elements from this movie does that include, right? Because most people, I would think, don't think of the version from the book. We think of things that we've seen on film. So we're going to compare it to the book, but then we're going to see movies on their own. How much does that stand up? And then I've also got some points for originality. And then for each movie, we're going to tally up points for accuracy to the book, points for iconography, and then points for originality. So things in originality, they don't necessarily have to be good things or things that stick with you, but, well, that's different. That'll still get you points. So we're doing one video for each movie. We are starting today with the classic 1931's Frankenstein. So I'm not going to read through every aspect of my notes here, because that would take a long time, and I'm hoping these are going to be short. But looking, first category, we've got the scientist. In the movie, they've named him Henry instead of Victor, like in the book. He wants to create life, which is similar to the book, but in the book, he sees that as a stepping stone to then being able to bring back the dead, whereas in the movie that's not mentioned. In both cases he works isolated. In the movie he goes mad. In the book it's not really suggested that he actually goes mad, it's more that he's exhausted and tired of everything that's been going on. In the movie he wants to be God. He says, now I know what it's like to be God. In the book it doesn't really address that he sees himself as God or anything like that. And in the movie, he survives at the end. Whereas in the book, he dies at the end. So for the scientist, I gave 5.5 out of 10 points in terms of accuracy to the book. Now moving on to the creature. In the book, the creature appears very early on page 25. Out of 158 total pages, which is 16% of the way through the story. Very early on. In the movie, he doesn't appear until 34% of the way through the movie. 24 minutes out of a 70-minute runtime. In the movie, it's mostly just one body that he kind of alters, whereas in the book, he's creating a new body. They don't talk about the brain that much in the book. In the movie, though, they specify that he wants a genius brain, but his assistant, Fritz, brings a criminal brain instead. Size is a bit different. In the book, he's described as yellowish. It's unclear how much that's supposed to be fleshy and how much it's actually supposed to be yellow. In the movie, it's black and white, but it's supposed to be green. The movie adds the electrodes on the creature's neck, which are not present in the book. The movie has him reanimated via electricity. The book actually doesn't specify how the reanimation happens. In the book, the first movement that the scientist sees of the creature is the eyes. In the movie, the first movement that we see is the hand. In both cases, the creature doesn't attack until he's provoked. They both have enhanced strength. But the movie creature is slow, whereas the book creature is fast. He's very fast, faster than a normal man. The movie establishes that he's got a fear of fire, which is not really a thing in the book. There's a bit about him experiencing a campfire, but it doesn't really suggest that he's afraid of it. He understands it pretty quickly. We've got an angry mob in the movie, which is not in the book. We've got a lack of speech capability in the movie. In the book, he's capable of very eloquent speech, just like any other person of the time. In the movie, the only victim that he kills is little Maria, the little girl by the lake. Whereas in the book, he kills William, which is Victor's brother, Elizabeth, which is Victor's fiance or wife. I can't remember if they get married in the book. And Clerval, which is Victor's friend in the book, and also Justine, who is a servant. The creature doesn't kill her directly, but her death is the result of the creature's actions. So a lot more killing in the book than in the movie. In the book, the creature requests a wife, a bride, a mate. He doesn't make any kind of request in the movie. And in the movie, he apparently dies at the end, being burned alive in the windmill, although there were sequels, so it seems like the creature survives, or maybe he's brought back later. I haven't watched the sequels yet. But at the end of the movie, it seems like the creature's going to die, whereas at the end of the book, it's more ambiguous, but it seems like he is alive at the end of the book. So for creature, I only gave this movie a 3 out of 18. Lots and lots of differences between this creature and the book creature. In terms of the supporting cast, in the book there is no assistant. In the movie we get Fritz, the assistant. In the book, someone's going to probably prove me wrong on this, but I've looked and I've re-looked and I've tried as best as I can. I do not think that in the book Victor's father is a baron. It says that they're pretty well off and that they're a family of influence, but I don't ever think it specifies that they're a baron, whereas in this movie his father is a baron. In the movie, he's engaged to Elizabeth, but in the book, Victor and Elizabeth are cousins by blood, but they are raised as brother and sister from a very young age. But they are still engaged, and I think they do get married. If they don't, it's certainly the plan. So, a lot more incest vibes in the book than what we got in the movie. In the movie, he's not shown to have any brothers or servants, which he does in the book. And then they use some of the names in the movie of characters from the book, but they're not really all in the right place. So his friend in the movie is named Victor, whereas that's his name in the book. We've got, there is a Professor Waldman in the movie, which comes from the book, but it's not the same relationship from the book. We've got no Professor Crimp. We've got no, in the book, the creature, during a long period of time where he has nothing to do with Victor, comes across this family that lives in a cottage, including a blind man. None of that is featured in the movie. I talked about previously the victims that are killed by the creature. Only the one in the movie as opposed to several in the book. And in the book, so this is weird for me. I don't read a lot of books. That probably won't surprise anyone. But nothing actually happens in the book. And what I mean by that is that the entire book is a series of letters written from a ship captain to his sister. I think it's his sister. And within those letters, there's the story that Victor Frankenstein tells the captain. And within that story, there's the story that the creature told Frankenstein. And within that story, there are letters that the creature read about this family that lived in the cottage. So there's lots and lots of layers of story here. So there's like, people wrote letters, and then people told what was in those letters to someone else, which it was overheard by someone else, who then told that to someone else, who then told that to someone else, who then wrote that in a letter to someone else. So there are no actual events that happen in the book. There's just stories that are told and letters that are written. So there's no framing device like that in the movie. We just see the events happen. So supporting cast, I gave the movie a 2 out of 11. And then we get to the setting. In the book, most of this happens in just a normal house. In the movie, the experiments take place in a windmill tower, an abandoned windmill tower. In the book, the story takes place over several years. There's several years of travel, and there's a whole buildup of his childhood, and then the creature is on its own for multiple years, and then there's more years of chasing, and then it takes place over a very, very long time. In the movie, it seems like it's a couple of days, maybe a couple weeks. And then in the book, as I mentioned before, everything is just told through letters, whereas in the movie, we just see the things happen. So setting, I gave it a 0 out of 3. So in terms of accuracy to the book, if we add up all those points, it's a 10.5 out of a total possible score of 42. So not super duper accurate to the book. But if we move on to the iconography, that's a hard word to say. We have a scientist that brings the dead back to life. We have a creature that is dangerous and violent to humans. We have the iconic line of, "It's alive!" when the creature is revived. The creature's general appearance, I think most people associate it more with what this movie has than what the book has. The lightning being the use of reanimation is very closely associated. Even on this cover of the book, there's no lightning involved in the reanimation of the creature, but they've taken that iconography and put it on that book cover, which kind of frustrates me. I know we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but that's more of a cover to a movie, not a book. The fact that the scientist goes mad or insane, not a thing in the book, but that seems to be something that people typically associate with him. The angry mob with the torches, that's a big iconic part for a lot of people. And then the burning windmill at the end, I think, is a big part. So all of those are things that this movie features, so it gets plus 8 points for its iconography. And its originality, we've got the "It's alive" line, the creature's appearance, a lot of the same stuff, but it was original to this film. The lightning, Frankenstein being mad, the angry mob, and the windmill. So plus 6 points for its originality. So if we add all that up, we get a score of 24.5. So I'm going to be keeping a tally as we go. So, in terms of accuracy to the movie, or to the book, excuse me, we've got 10.5, but we've got 8 for iconography and 6 for originality, which is a total score, if my math is correct, of 24.5 points. So that's the score to beat. I'm going to try to put this back up, and it's not going to work. It's going to fall over. Ha! Couple other notes about this movie. The film starts with a warning, which I think is just so cute and adorable. One of the actors from the movie comes out and says, "This film may shock you. It may horrify you. Oh, be careful. Those of you that are simple-hearted," you know, it's pretty funny. We do get some lines in this movie, including House of Frankenstein, Son of the House of Frankenstein, and Young Frankenstein. So it sets up some iconic lines that go on to become the titles of sequels or other adaptations of the material. And then I wrote, how did Maria's father know she was murdered? So the only murder victim in this film is little Maria, who Frankenstein throws in a lake. But her father doesn't see that happen. Her father just knows that she's playing by the lake, and then he finds her drowned. How does she know that she didn't just drown? It's a very weird thing, and that's the catalyst for what sets up the angry mob. But as presented in the film, he would have no way of knowing that someone actually murdered her. The actress herself literally didn't know how to swim. So it seemed... Anyway, little nitpick. And then I just wrote that it's an abrupt ending. We've got the burning of the windmill. Apparently the ending was changed between Henry's fate. So we don't actually see a lot of him at the end because they changed what happened, but he just kind of gets taken away and they set the windmill on fire and it's over. It cuts to black. So those are my thoughts and notes on the classic 1931 Frankenstein. I will say this, and hopefully I don't have to repeat it for every Frankenstein video. If you are one of those people who will correct someone when they refer to the creature as Frankenstein, get a new hobby. Frankenstein the scientist, created a being, and that being refers to the scientist as his father. Frankenstein is the family name, so it makes perfect sense that the creature's name is also Frankenstein. So if you are someone that calls the creature Frankenstein, and someone else tries to correct you and they say, actually, Frankenstein was the scientist's name, all you need to do is Uno reverse it on them and be like, actually, Frankenstein was the scientist's father's name. Because that's the same argument that they're making. That's not their name, that's their father's name. So you just bring it back a generation and see how they react. Because they'll probably be confused, and then you can make fun of them. So, Frankenstein, it's the name of the scientist, it's also the name of the creature, it's also the name of the scientist's father. It's fine. If Mary Shelley really didn't want us calling the creature Frankenstein, she would have given him a name in the book, and she doesn't. So we can call him Frankenstein. That's my rant on the name. That's all I've got. Let me know what your thoughts. Do you have a preference of which Frankenstein film? Which one do you think is going to come out on top in this competition? Let me know your thoughts, but that's all that I have. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Hey everybody, Sam Tom here. Just wanted to let you know that I have 2 channels. If you're watching my music content, I also have a movie channel where I talk about movies and TV shows. If you're watching my movie content, I have a music channel where I do song covers, instrument demos, things like that. So feel free to check that out. Obviously, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.